Good evening and welcome to the Free West Media YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so before. And tonight I'm talking about the upcoming US election and saying that Biden is poison. Why am I saying that? Currently the world is on the cusp of extremely radical changes. And on all these important issues, Biden finds himself on completely the wrong side. In fact, Biden may very well, cause a collapse of Western civilization if he applies all of his policies in the United States. Now, we here in South Africa, of course, we are clinging on to an increasingly chaotic situation. But Biden has been on a record that he actually abhors us, and he detests white South Africans. He probably supports some kind of ethnic cleansing here against us. So if he had to be elected, South Africa would be one of the first countries that would be plunged into chaos, because currently the more radical forces in South Africa are being held back by the fear of some kind of reprisal by the Trump administration, or that the Trump and his administration would intervene for humanitarian reasons if there had to be some radical Pol Pot type of Cambodian revolution in South Africa. But with Biden in the driving seat, it would simply be anything goes in South Africa and in very many other parts of the world as well. In Europe, Biden would definitely take side against Europeans. He would side with some of the more radical Islamic invaders of Europe. He might even support some form of violence by some of the radical groups, the militant groups against Europe. So it would sound the death knell of Europe, and especially Western Europe as we know it. Then when it comes to immigration into the United States, Biden is on record that he wants to legalize most of the illegal immigrants in the United States. There are about 12 to 15 million of them. And when those people become citizens and are able to vote, then there will be a democratic left-wing government forever in the United States, and a particularly anti-Western government as well. And that would accelerate the decline of European Americans, who would become increasingly subject to discrimination, as they already are in certain respects. Discrimination, violence. We've seen the growth in violence in the United States and in crime as well. So those sorts of tendencies would simply be accelerated. And then finally, there is the issue of corruption. Currently, Biden and his son Hunter stand accused of having peddled influence in Ukraine and in China. Apparently, a Chinese investor gave Hunter Biden a stake in a company that was worth $10 million in exchange for some influence with his father, who was at the time a prominent member of the Obama administration. And he also served on the board of the Burisma Corporation in the Ukraine at a time when that country was going through some turmoil, and where the US policy was also to actually support some of the corrupt politicians in the Ukraine. So corruption is another a very serious allegation that is being leveled against Biden and his family. And as we all know, countries that suffer from corruption eventually become ruled by criminal oligarchs and by the organized crime. We've had that same experience in South Africa, and eventually it just leads to chaos and violence. And the United States would be no different. If you had to vote for Biden and his corruption would become institutionalized within the White House, it would be only a few years before the United States would start going the way of some third world countries in South America or in Africa, where public funds are simply looted and poverty increases and the middle class disappears and violence and crime break out. So if I can give you any advice from our experience and from my reading of the situation, you should vote for anyone but Biden. And that means voting for Trump. Trump has, of course, his idiosyncrasies, and not everybody likes him as a person, or some of his pronouncements in the media. But compared to Biden, it's like chalk and cheese, and you shouldn't even look at Biden compared to Trump. Trump is the only hope that the US would stay out of the clutches of extremists and criminals. So think very carefully when you make your cross in the coming US election. And please follow also this channel, Free West Media, and also have a look at some of the books that we've advertised during this video that are highly instructive concerning the situation that already pertains in the United States. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.